The historic Ohio Stadium seats 102,000 people. Imagine being at a packed-out game against that team from up north and 49 people die. That's the current state of Black maternal mortality in our country, 49.5 deaths per 100,000 live births. The reason is jarring, but it's very clear. It's racism. Our country's medical system was created in such a way that it continues to dehumanize, discredit, disvalue Black and brown voices within their own medical experiences. Take, for example, my very first birth. It was the year 2002. I'd been taken by ambulance to a local hospital to give birth to my son. The paramedics and myself both were very clear that my water had already broken. But there was just one nurse who was insistent we need to still do a speculum exam. I'm like, nah, sis, we are not doing a speculum exam. My water broke. She was still insistent. And the reason why this is important is the fact that once your water breaks, anything that's inserted into the vagina now puts you at risk for infection, not only for yourself, but for baby and other complications. But she was persistent. So I turned around, started to walk to the bathroom, and I think to myself, I cannot believe this is happening. And she shouts out, oh my gosh, your water broke. We need to get you to a room. I slowly turned around, looked her dead in her face, and said, I know, that's what I've been trying to tell you. You think that's enough for one birthing experience, but it wasn't. About 5 hours later, I'm in the throes of labor. I look to my nurses, and I'm like, yo, I think it's time to push. They look at each other, they start laughing, and they're like, oh, honey, this is your first baby. You're going to be here a while. So I told her, well, if I'm going to be here a while, I'm probably going to need that epidural that I refused. So they get the anesthesiologist, but of course I turn him away because I'm actually afraid of needles. But the doctor was with them, and he was like, well, let me go ahead and just do a check since I'm already here. Sure, why not? What does he find? The baby's head. It was time to push. The nurses' faces were impeccable. They were completely astonished. Now, I must say I kind of was too, but it was time. These are just a couple of examples of what happens just in a birthing experience with Black and brown folks, being ignored, being discredited on a regular basis in their own bodily experiences. And the thing about it is that what we find that is most helpful for everybody who's giving birth is to have someone like a doula along for the ride, right? A doula is a trained professional that provides education, advocacy, physical support, and emotional support, not only for the birthing person, but whoever's there to support them and their family. Oftentimes, doulas and midwives are confused. We're not the same. Doulas are different from both midwives and OBs. The OB and the midwife, they're there to monitor baby and mom's well-being throughout the entire pregnancy. They're there to make sure if there's any diseases or disorders that need to be taken care of are managed. That's why you get ultrasounds every couple of months and all that blood work, right? But we're not the same, but we are a part of the same team that is there to make sure that you have a healthy, safe, and positive birth experience. So take a roll back just 2 years this time to the year 2022 when I was in labor with my second son. I'll do the math for you. My babies are 20 years apart. But that's another talk for another day. So it's about 30-some hours into our labor, and my doula comes alongside the bed, and she says, look, you're not going to like this. This is probably going to hurt, but we need to flip you over on your other side. And before I could even register what she's saying, her and my partner had flipped me over on my other side. Now, my birth plan was such that I asked for monitors to be off and out of sight, so I literally had no idea what was happening. But I was starting to register because I'm a doula myself, so I'm starting to add things up. There's an eerie silence in the room, and eventually I hear a voice in front of me say, "Are we good?" Silence again. Finally, one of the nurses shouts out, "We're good. Mom and baby are fine." It's when I realized that we had just been on the brink of a medical emergency. So I asked my doula, how many people were in the room? She said about 7 or 8. And I realized that without her action in that moment, that one or both of us potentially would not be here today. My baby's heart rate and my heart rate were unstable. And what her education and her training taught her is that we need to change my position so we could change baby's position to stabilize our heart rates. What's really important to notice, there were 7 or 8 people at the door, 2 to 3 to the right, and none of them had this idea or suggestion. It was my doula. The work was my doula and my partner that saved us that day. For a moment, imagine what our lives would be like. What would our community be like if everyone had access and was able to utilize a doula for their birthing experience? Who would still be living on your block? What baby would be able to enjoy their smash cake on their first birthday? You see, doulas are known to decrease the rate of inductions and surgical births. They're known to increase positive birth experiences. We're also known for, if we're in this space, that baby has a higher APGAR score. That's a really quick assessment of baby right after birth. And the higher the score, the less likelihood that they will need additional medical support. In order for us to really transform from mortality to vitality, we must divest from the systems that have been put in place that actually harm and kill our people. What does that look like? That looks like advocating for and encouraging the utilization of doula services for every birthing experience, for the entirety of said birthing experience. So, where do you find a doula? So glad you asked. There's one in every single community. Ask somebody that you know, a friend, a family member, somebody on the row either knows a doula or knows somebody who utilized a doula. You could also ask your OB or your midwife. They've been working with us a lot more these past couple of years. They know of someone. You could even use one of the national directories like National Black Doulas Association or Sister Midwives. But wait, I hear it's expensive. You right. It is, and it should be, and it's worth every single penny. It's about well-being, not only mentally, but physically. So, you know you want to have a baby? Start saving now. Put away your pennies just like you would do for those Jordans, right? You could also use your HSA or your FSA with your private insurance. What I really want us to normalize is utilizing your baby registry. Forget the fancy stroller. Ask for doula services. Put it right on there. Get your community to help support that service for you and your family. That's pretty much how our family paid for ours. We got a large monetary gift from a family member, and it paid for not only our doula, but a car seat. At the end of the day, the work that doulas do is not to replace what OBs or midwives do for a family. We're, again, a part of the team. And we really need to figure out ways to continue to advocate for and encourage the utilization of us doulas in our communities on a regular basis. So whether you want to have a baby or you know somebody who wants to have a baby, I encourage you to encourage them to find a doula and hire a doula. Thank you.